Hello and welcome back. So today we're diving into a difficult yet incredibly important topic, emotional manipulation in relationships. This is something that often starts subtly, and by the time you realize what's happening, you're often so confused and drained that you start doubting your own judgment. Now, when we talk about manipulation, we're talking about a set of strategies where one person uses emotional pressure, guilt, or confusion to exert control over another person's behavior or beliefs. It's not just about winning an argument. It's about making you constantly question your own reality so they can get what they want. So let's break down the 5 most sneaky signs of manipulation that you absolutely cannot ignore. 1. The weaponization of guilt. This is one of the most common and damaging tools. A manipulator will use your natural empathy against you. So let's say you plan a weekend trip with your girlfriends. Instead of saying, "I wish you wouldn't go," which would be a direct request, he might sigh dramatically and say, "Well, I guess I'll just be lonely here all weekend and have to order food every night because I can't cook. I just really miss you when you're gone." See what happened there? He didn't forbid you from going, but he placed a massive, heavy blanket of guilt over your choice. You might then cancel your plans just to avoid making him suffer. This is control disguised as emotional frailty. A healthy partner respects your separate needs and cheers you on. A manipulator uses your compassion to keep you close and compliant. 2. Gaslighting, the attack on your reality. This is perhaps the most insidious form of manipulation, and it's essential we define it clearly. Gaslighting is a form of psychological abuse where the manipulator causes you to question your own memory, perception, and sanity. So, you confront him about something he did. Maybe he promised to do a chore and forgot. Instead of apologizing, he might say, "I never said that. You're imagining things," or "Wow, you're so sensitive. You really need to learn to relax," or even, "You know your memory is terrible. Are you taking your medication?" The goal here is not just to win the argument, but to make you think, maybe I am crazy. Maybe I didn't hear him say that. This forces you to rely on their version of reality, making you easier to control. If you constantly feel confused, constantly feel like you're going crazy, or constantly feel the need to record conversations to prove your point, you are likely being gaslighted. 3. Playing the victim or shifting blame. Manipulators rarely take accountability. When you bring up a legitimate grievance, they immediately turn the spotlight onto you, shifting the focus away from their own behavior. So, you confront him about something he did. Maybe he promised to do a chore and forgot. Instead of apologizing, he might say, "I never said that. You're imagining things," or "Wow, you're so sensitive. You really need to learn to relax," or even, "You know your memory is terrible. Are you taking your medication?" The goal here is not just to win the argument, but to make you think, maybe I am crazy. Maybe I didn't hear him say that. This forces you to rely on their version of reality, making you easier to control. If you constantly feel confused, constantly feel like you're going crazy, or constantly feel the need to record conversations to prove your point, you are likely being gaslighted. 3. Playing the victim or shifting blame. Manipulators rarely take accountability. When you bring up a legitimate grievance, they immediately turn the spotlight onto you, shifting the focus away from their own behavior. So, you bring up the fact that he was rude to your friend. He doesn't say, "I'm sorry." Instead, he immediately counters with, "Why are you always so critical of me? You're the one who needs to fix your attitude." Or he might say, "I only acted that way because you provoked me earlier." He makes your attempt to set a boundary the problem, thereby making you apologize for having an issue in the first place. You walk into the conversation ready to discuss his behavior and walk out apologizing for being too sensitive or too demanding. This is an incredible power move that ensures he never has to face his flaws. 4. The silent treatment as a weapon. While taking a timeout, as we discussed in the last video, is healthy for de-escalation, stonewalling or using the silent treatment to punish or control is manipulation. This means he gives you the cold shoulder for hours or days, not because he needs time to calm down, but because he is actively trying to make you suffer, plead, or beg for his attention and connection. The message is, if you don't do what I want, I will take my love and presence away until you submit. This is emotional coercion. A partner who loves you resolves conflict. They don't leverage emotional connection to win. 5. Conditional love and affection. In a healthy relationship, love is given freely. In a manipulative dynamic, love, affection, praise, and intimacy are often transactional. You might notice he's only complimentary when you look a certain way, or only loving after you agree to something he wanted, or only kind when you're doing exactly what he approves of. If you feel like you constantly have to perform or walk on eggshells to earn his approval and affection, then that affection is being used as a tool for control, not an expression of genuine love. How to regain your peace. So, if you recognize these patterns, the path back to sanity requires radical self-trust and rock-solid boundaries. First, you must trust your gut. If a situation feels confusing, if you feel guilty for no reason, or if you constantly feel small, that feeling is real. You need to name the behavior. Say to yourself, that was gaslighting, or that was a guilt trip. Naming it takes away its power. Second, you must learn to set clear, high boundaries with consequences. When he uses a manipulative tactic, you don't argue the point. You just enforce the boundary. For example, if he starts gaslighting you, you might calmly say, I know what I saw heard, and I won't debate my reality. We can discuss this when you are ready to acknowledge what happened, and then you walk away or end the conversation. If he tries to guilt you, you simply say, I hear that you'll miss me, but I've already committed to this trip and I'm going. I look forward to seeing you when I get back. No arguing, no explaining, just a calm statement of reality. This will feel uncomfortable because manipulators hate boundaries, and they will escalate their tactics to try and push you back into compliance. But your peace and your sanity are worth the temporary discomfort. Remember, manipulation is a choice made by someone who prioritizes control over connection. Your job is not to fix him, but to protect yourself by clearly defining what is acceptable and what is not. I want you to take a moment and identify one boundary you need to strengthen this week. Write it down. Let me know in the comments if you've dealt with gaslighting and how you handled it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.